right. Second video. I think we're going to call this Shelf Life. So here we are once again at my curating shelf. I have my knockoff Stanley full of electrolytes. I like the Element citrus one. It's very salty, but it's very good. And I gotta chill out because it's not TikTok or Instagram. Everything needs to be super duper fast. We're hanging out. So, it's Sunday. I'm back down here. We're at the shelf, and we're just gonna go over some new books I got. We can see these down here at the bottom. We did some things, so nothing crazy, but we're gonna go over what I finished this week, how it's been actually intentionally creating content around books and around reading, because I'm doing this to get away from just looking at my phone all the time. And it's kind of like an oxymoron doing that, because in one hand, you go from just playing with your phone constantly to, I want to read more, but then you wind up making more content. But the thing is, it's creating content, it's post and ghost. That's what I'm trying to think of, post and ghost. I go on there, I follow a couple people, I take a quick look at people who are doing the exact same kind of content as me, and off I go. Has anyone responded? Nope. Post. Everything looks good. Goodbye. And in doing so, I got a few comments that were like, oh, well, you're trying to get away from your phone. Not going so well. Actually, it is. Doing content like this, it's making me a more focused reader. And I never thought I was a fast reader, but by doing stuff like this, I'm pushing, not going crazy, but I'm pushing my own boundaries in a focused way, doing more reading. My hair is absolutely insane right now. I went to the beach and I've been in the pool all day, so try not to bring my book to get absolutely covered in sand, and then you wind up reading in books in your phone. No, it doesn't come up. It burns the eyes when you see it. So that weekend reading kind of got screwy. But anyways, this weekend, or Friday, I finished this, Death in Spring by, once again, Mercè Rodoreda, translated from the Catalan by Martha Tennant. This book really upset me in a beautiful way. The writing is amazing, and I've recently watched a podcast about things in translation and the work that goes into it, but this was written so beautifully that I'm not sure if the original was written this way or if the translator wrote it that beautifully. Like, the words just striking. But with that being said, there's a polar opposite to how dark is an overused term, but how morose and curt this book was. And it takes place in a fictitious village. It's kind of primitive, kind of timeless group of people that had their own beliefs, if you will, and lore and legend that our character was living through. And you kind of see them throughout their life, going through these beliefs, and how as a boy seeing things, it can be horrifying, and then later living through those things and just seeing the full cycle of life through this book. And Death in Spring is literally a perfect name for this. I'm not going to give out a whole bunch of spoilers and a synopsis on the whole thing, but a few things is like being murdered and having concrete put down your throat so your soul doesn't escape, throwing people into rivers to see what happens. Can they make it under the village? And then their entire forehead is ripped away. trees that eat people and swarms of birds that just, they, for no reason, they just die. And it's kind of like how nature works. It's like a rainbow is here, and it's just like, oh, the swarm of birds, they're all going to die, and they're all going to peck each other to death. It's dark, and it's just like, that's just how it is here. It's kind of nice and beautiful. And then it will talk about bees and flowers, and it really screws with you. But I thought it was an enjoyable read, and especially being only 150 pages, that was super cool. Now, let's see. I do have notes. I'm new to this. I also finished White Nights from Dostoevsky, and that's my third book from him. The first one was Notes from the Underground, which I liked this more for a different reason. I like this a lot because it was angry. It was inner turmoil. I don't have a physical copy either of White Nights because I love Libby and Acorn, and that's what I can read on my phone. That's one of my media ways of consumption for books. I like it because also at work, it's not really great to just sit there and read a book, but it's not supposed to be great being on your phone, but at my job, it's much less, you're more inconspicuous if you're just looking at your phone, but instead of scrolling, I'm reading Dostoevsky. And White Nights, that was cool. That was about like hope and love and the heart, and having it crushed, and then hope, and then crushed, and then time. Again, no spoilers, but crushing. And if that's a taste for getting into Dostoevsky, I cannot wait to get into some more of the big boys. Now, I've listened to Crime and Punishment, and if you follow me on TikTok, I made a video about, like, audiobooks have their value, but for me, number one, it's not reading. But number two, like, if I listen to a book, if I'm not listening to it like twice a day, I can't pick it up. It's over. So especially with now making content, I'd rather just listen to podcasts, listen to music, and actually read, whether it be digital or physical media. But White Nights I did on the phone. That was cool. That's also how I did Hard Rain Falling through Acorn and Libby. That's fantastic. The library is amazing with this, and I'm also relearning the library instead of just buying a ton of books like I used to do, and then I purged it, and now I'm kind of rebuilding a good library. That's what we're going to get into with down here. So when I finished these, I had a couple other things that I wanted to start. I needed to start new books. This one was a book club, and I'm 2 weeks early finishing that. So I have it's not necessarily a library, but it's like a free, if you want these books, go ahead and grab them. And everyone kept saying that The Count of Monte Cristo, Fat Boy, is a spectacular read, and the pacing. Everyone's like, it'll just hook you right in. And I didn't know what serial written books are, and how it was, a lot of the authors back in the day would do these for periodicals, kind of like a season of a show. I thought that was super duper cool. So this mammoth thing is like 117 chapters, and all the chapters aren't too long, and the language it's not intimidating at all. It's kind of like watching a series. So it's funny how something that looks this horrifying is way less of an emotional wreck than something like this. Like and learning about serial books, like I looked up a couple other ones. Our boy Dostoevsky, a couple of his chunkers are also written in series. I thought that was kind of cool. I also read through Acorn a short story. I guess it's a book, but it's also a short story on The Yellow Wallpaper, which was written in 1892. I don't have the author's name right now, I apologize, but that was about, like, just one woman in a room with a pen, and it was about her mental health and the attitude of mental health and women in that period. And it was dismal, and you could see the effects of not getting stimulated and not being respected for mental health. And the fact that it was written then and it's so pertinent now, and it gets creepy, and it's like you're gaslighting yourself reading it. Really good. The Yellow Wallpaper. I'll get a title somewhere, but that was a fun little read. It was like 40 pages. That's it. Nice and easy. Again, like, I haven't done this amount of reading since I started making content for it. So it's like a self-perpetuating thing. Again, back to the notes. Let's see what else I have. It's made me a faster reader. And resourcefulness. Now, let's talk about resourcefulness. I knew I had a couple books over at my parents' because I've been doing serial book buying and just buying things for no reason for a long time. And I read a lot of nonfiction to learn things, to be serious. Like, I'm trying to learn something now. And I didn't grow up with the internet the way it was. So if I wanted to learn something, I would get a book on it, like how to weld or how to do blacksmithing or how to survive in the wilderness. There wasn't like, YouTube wasn't what it always was, so I'd buy a lot of books. But in doing that, I would also like, oh, look, this is for sale. That looks cool. I heard about this. So I went over to my parents. Hey, do you happen to have this book or that book? And they're like, oh yeah, we didn't throw anything away. So I found old totes from when I moved out, and I got a ton of goodies that I didn't even know that I still had. So let's take a look at those. Some things that are going to, I feel, come up here into the curated section. Let's go into those first. I got Steinbeck, Canary Row. This looks cool. After reading The Moon is Down, I'm definitely interested in getting more into this guy. Some more classics. The Great Gatsby. I didn't know I had this. I was supposed to read it in high school, and I never did. I got the Cliff Notes and probably cheated. Moby Dick with the Reader's Guide. I had a number of copies of these, but this was sitting there, and I know if I'm making content, and this is probably a good one to guzzle down. Another one, the Grendel. I'm totally into like Norse mythology and stuff like that. I think that's what this was about. Let's see. Yeah, from the early epic of Beowulf. So it's a fan fiction of one of the oldest stories out of Europe. Oh, here's another point I wanted to make. It's about books and movies. If there is a movie that I've already seen, I don't want to read the book. Like, so I'm not interested in reading the book. I will, if there's like I know Blood Meridian is going to be a movie. I haven't read that, but I'm going to read that before I see the movie. If it's already a movie, I know I'll never read the book. However, if I find a cool book or a cool movie, I'll find out who the author is. I won't read that one, but I'll read something else by them. And one of those that I think I threw away. Oh, here's one. Like, I didn't read Fight Club, but I read Chuck, is it Palahniuk or Palahniuk? I'm not sure. Survivor. I had this one I found way back in the day. I read this probably when I was 19, and I remember it was like, whoa, I need a Netflix. If you like this, you'll like this when I read this. But it was a one and done, and back to screwing around not reading. I didn't see Alex Garland's The Beach. I did watch 28 Days Later, and that's what made me interested in The Beach. This was a really good book, but I really don't remember it too much. I remember the feeling of like nighttime, the beach, and there were like drug dealers, and hiding from them in the woods. That's all I remember from this one, but I snagged it. The Gunslinger. I remember I read this and absolutely loved it, but just the idea that it's going to be a huge epic and I have to commit, and at that time reading wasn't that much. We're gonna get back into Stephen King for sure. My dad gave me 100 Great short stories, there's more palate cleansers in between intentional reads. A 40th anniversary Kerouac on the Road. This one, I think I snagged because I was helping a buddy move, and he's just like, if you find anything interesting, just grab it. And I got this and Carlos Castaneda's Teaching of Don Juan, and I had to tape the cover back on. But like, I remember these two I got together moving my buddy. That back. The Rum Diary, I bought it thinking I was cool when the movie came out. I didn't really pay attention to the movie. Not too thick, want to get into it. Robert McMahon's Swan Song. This one, someone lent this to me, and I again saw it, and I was intimidated, and I was just like, yeah, I'll get to it, and never got to it, but I never threw it away, so that's kind of cool. Now, this was the one that I went to go grab from my parents. Stephen King's The Talisman. You can see it's been used for forever, but I remember my mom saying, you got to read this. Like, this is the bee's knees. And I was like, I don't know. Plus, I was resistant because Stephen King is so popular. I kind of anti that, you know. Missed out, kid. I got some Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I've read this like 3 or 4 times. I read it in college first time, and then I listened to it, and then I read it again. This is just one great one to have. But I also have The Unheard Cry for Meaning, Psychotherapy, and oh, my son just woke up from his nap, and Humanism. Lewis Carroll. This looks like another one I could just plow through in a day now that I'm getting my reading confidence up. That's fun. Here's one I definitely want to read. Henry Miller's Black Spring. I remember I'm a huge Henry Rollins fan, and he's kind of one who got me into just initially buying books. So he recommended this one and Sexus and Nexus, I think. Tropic of Capricorn, but again, I was rifling through the bins, and I was like, oh, I remember I wanted to read this, and I never did. Another book, movie, I loved Requiem for a Dream. Of course I did. Who wrote that? Hubert Selby Jr. I'm not reading Requiem for a Dream. I've watched it 200,000 times. Maybe I will later. But I saw that he also wrote Last Exit to Brooklyn. This one's more than likely going to go in the curated area. Oh, another one. I've read a couple graphic novels, but again, through the tote, and part of the moving sale, like, oh, grab this stuff if you're going to help me move boxes, was the complete Frank Miller Batman. But like, look at this. It's got silver, leather bound, and this. Like, dude, that looks awesome. So a deeper appreciation for books is definitely coming. And it's like being reunited with a bunch of old cool friends. Stephen King's On Writing. Love that. Gonna reread it. Another Stephen King, Heart in Atlantis. I kind of just went crazy. I had one bag. And I'm like, we're just gonna fill this up. Because again, I only came over looking for The Talisman, and there's one other I was looking for. The Talisman, and where is it? I'll know when I see it. The Scarlet Letter, that was another cheapo that I grabbed. None Dare Call It Conspiracy. I had this in my house for some reason. Like, it's small enough. Oh, working out. I have so many books on working out, like bodybuilding stuff, and you know, like I said, there wasn't the internet the way it was. There wasn't fitness all over everything, and I think this book might be out of print, but I don't know. Brother Iron, Sister Steel, Dave Draper. So it's cool to have, but maybe someone wants this. I'm also interested in getting into selling more books, because I've been dabbling in doing eBay, and books are easy to ship. They're easy to take pictures of it. They're easy to say what the conditions are. But yeah, that's kind of it right now. Let me go back to my notes. Book haul, the one bag run. Here we go. I got it. For the final grand finale of this video. Like I said, I'm reading The Count of Monte Cristo right now. And like you can see my dad. See my dad's books? See that spine? Wrecked. That's fine. But here's my infinite jest. And I did not. It's not like I didn't do this intentionally. But apparently, I'm not a natural spine breaker. I think that would just happen. You know, I read the whole thing and I was not gentle with this book, but you see that? No spine break. And I watched some content and people intentionally break spines. This fascinated me. I have never done this. And I've been holding this all week, waiting for Sunday, because I would like you to join me in my first intentional spine break. Why not? Let's test the waters. So, I'll do this. I have no problem doing that. Are we ready? Here we go. We're gonna do it together. Get that in the camera. There it is. I did it. And I don't want just one, so I'm going to do quarters. And here we go. See that? It didn't necessarily make a snapping sound, but okay, that's a little bit better. And we'll see throughout the course of this book. I'm posting a lot of stories because, like I said, this was brand new when I started reading it, and it's going to be beaten. And I'm trying to document the beating process of this book. So there, I just did a little more. So join me, will you? Guys, thank you again. You have to like and subscribe if you want more of this. Apparently, everyone's like, like and subscribe, please. I'm glad I got that out of the way. No, like and subscribe. I'm going to say it because that means I'm making content, and that means I'm being more intentional with reading. The whole process, the whole doing of this is fun. It's for me, and it's for you. It's a symbiotic relationship. We're going to do this. So we're going to have fun. Follow me on Instagram, Macaroni Books. Follow me on TikTok, Macaroni Books. Follow me here. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know if you want to talk about anything. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. Have a great week. This has been Shelf Life 2, and I will see you next Sunday. Cheers. Later. Bye. All that. Sayonara.